welcome everybody. Thank you all for being here. My name is Lydia. I am the executive director of Wild Goose Creative. We are a nonprofit community arts organization here in Columbus, Ohio, and we are very proud to organize Poetry Out Loud every single year for the regional competition. I think this is our fourth or fifth year organizing the regional competition, and it's really just a joy to meet all the students and see their insanely amazing recitations. I know that I could never do that in high school, honestly. I was a theater kid, but recitations are just a whole other thing. So today's contestant is one of 6 semifinals held throughout Ohio. This year is going to look a little different. Obviously, we are online, but we're going to make it work. So thank you all for being here. And I have the distinguished pleasure of welcoming Chiquita Mullins-Lee to just share a few words about Poetry Out Loud and welcome the program. So Chiquita.
Thank you, Lydia. It is so great to be here. And I'm just really excited. You know, Lydia, you just talked about how excited you are, and I'm really excited. Here we are, it's the 16th year of Poetry Out Loud, and people have plowed through this, and we're having competitions in all 6 of our regions. We are having a national competition. Everything is looking different right now, but we're all just bravely making everything happen. And I just want to express my appreciation. You know, I love when we can all get together and be in person and, you know, can shake hands at least. So we can't do that this year. But I'm optimistic that next year we'll all be together again. As you know, Ohio has done very well during this competition for the last 16 years. We've had a national finalist, we've had semifinalists, we've had honorable mentions. Students have won upwards of around $35,000 just from Ohio alone for participating in Poetry Out Loud. So it's a great thing. And poetry still rules in Ohio, in Columbus, in the nation. I want to recognize Jody Engel, who's been with us from the very beginning. She continues to stick around, and we're glad about that. And congratulations also to Lydia for pulling this together. You've always been a great partner. We appreciate all of your work. And I'm just glad that everybody is here, that we're doing this. It's still going to happen. So on behalf of Donna Collins, our executive director, and to each of you, the students, you know, I want to welcome you. I want to say thank you for the teachers, for their commitment, the students for their commitment, and we're going to plow through and have a great competition tonight. So welcome and continued success.
Thank you so much, Chiquita. So I also want to thank all of our judges, our accuracy checker, our prompter, our scoring manager, Mike, who is doing our video and the spotlighting. Normally we host this competition at the King Arts Complex, but this year Zoom is our host. So thank you to Zoom, I guess, for allowing us to continue this competition online. So I would now like to introduce our wonderful MC, Jody Engel. Jody has a background in arts and culture in Central Ohio and is a very long time friend of Poetry Out Loud. Welcome, Jody.
Thank you. Thank you, Lydia. It's a pleasure to be with you and the Wild Goose Creative and all of you this very snowy, lovely evening. If you would, audience, please help us welcome this year's Central Ohio School Champions. Let's meet them. Our first is Montserrat Tilawell Flores from St. Francis de Sales. Next is Ariana Culpepper from Beechcroft High School. And then we have Annabelle Long from Bexley High School. This wonderful group includes students from longtime Poetry Out Loud schools, students from schools that joined the program recently, and schools new to Poetry Out Loud this year. Welcome, each and every one of you. It's going to be a fantastic evening. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge the effort of the many classroom teachers who participate annually in Poetry Out Loud. We offer our deepest appreciation to the dedicated teachers here today. Every student here has been selected to represent his or her, actually her, school at this regional competition. I'd like to congratulate all of the students for their hard work and for the accomplishment of making it to this stage today. The state finals winner will be declared at the 2021 Ohio Poetry Out Loud State Champion and will be awarded a cash prize and an all expense paid trip to Washington, D.C. with a chaperone to participate in the National Poetry Out Loud competition in late April. I wish all of our contestants the best of luck and look forward to experiencing poetry the way it was made to be enjoyed, out loud. Before we begin the competition, we're excited to welcome a poetry reading by Faraha Tiab. Faraha is a multidisciplinary artist hailing from Houston. As a writer and photographer, her work revolves around the themes of identity and social justice. Faraha's creative work is published in Columbus Alive, Vox Media, Brown Girl Magazine, The Eater, the Columbus Anthology, and various literary journals and publications. She has performed and facilitated workshops at multiple venues and conferences, including the University of Iowa's International Writing Program, the Columbus Museum of Art, the Historic Lincoln Theater, the Girl Scouts National Conference, Making Midwest Fest, and other schools and community organizations. Additionally, she has received recognition from the Ohio Arts Council, graduated from the Lincoln Theater's Artist Incubation Program, and received grants from the Greater Columbus Arts Council. Aside from her artistry and facilitation, she mentors emerging artists and works to establish sustainable community programming around her passions to fight literacy, housing insecurity, and youth inequity. Please help me welcome Ferreira.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here, and I really appreciate being invited. I did get to attend Poetry Out Loud last year, and one of the students I had worked with the summer before actually won. I made it to the final round, which was super exciting. So it's always nice to have overlap in a city that's so large, but yet at the same time so small. So I'll be reading a short piece now. It's something I did write during the quarantine season, and it's called The Hearts of Black and Brown People. Some days we enter our own hearts, sit in the waiting room numb, not ready for the surgery. It is only so often that we can be in our body, but never be anybody, always have to be somebody for someone else's body that we show up for in the waiting room of our own hearts, waiting silently for their surgeries, for their souls to be torn open with the hands of other humans, sewn back together with the master's thread, no anesthesia, never enough tissues. But most days there is no waiting room in our hearts, no temporary numbness to allow us to escape before the distinct smell of open wounds, of invisible drippings from sutures of our loved ones. When did our hearts turn into makeshift emergency rooms? When did they become big enough to allow more and more broken bodies and spirits to enter? At least you have a waiting room, says the surgeon. At least we gave you a Band-Aid, he adds. At least you have a minute to breathe. Thank you.
Thank you. We're so glad that you're here with us this evening, and we're looking forward to hearing more poetry later. Here's a little more about the contest. It will consist of 2 rounds. Each student will recite 1 poem in each round. After round 2 is finished, scores will be tallied to determine which student has the highest scores. Scoring is cumulative, so scores from the 2 rounds are added together to determine each student's final ranking. The contestants will be scored in the following categories: physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, evidence of understanding, overall performance, and accuracy. For this formidable task, I'd like to thank our three distinguished judges. First is Suzanne Moeller. Dr. Suzanne Moeller has been sharing her passion for poetry inside the ivory tower and out. Widely published in several languages, Moeller has judged many different U.S. state poetry contests, including Poetry Out Loud, and is much inspired by different voices from many a corner of the world. After a life full of detours, much of her experience echoes through her echo poetry anthologies, Open Earth 1 and Open Earth 2. She now serves as vice president of the Ohio Poetry Association and lives in Columbus, Ohio with her cat in an assortment of yoga toys that they both share. Welcome, Suzanne. Next, we have Steve Abbott. Steve Abbott was, in 1984, a founder and remains a co-host of the Poetry Forum, now one of the country's largest running poetry reading series. He has received an Ohio Arts Council Excellence Award in Poetry and an Ohio Arts Council Writing Residency. His work has appeared in dozens of literary journals, including Rattle, the Connecticut Review, Birmingham Poetry Review, River Battle, Light, a journal of photography and poetry, the Exvarstic Review, and Spoon River Poetry Review. He has edited several poetry anthologies and published 5 chapter books and 2 full-length collections, A Green Line Between Green Fields and A Language, The Images Speaks, a collection of ekphrastic poems. He edits Ohio Poetry Association's annual journal, Common Threads, and served as its representative on the committee that selected Ohio's first poet laureate. Welcome, Steve. Our third judge is Charlene Fix. Charlene is the author of 3 volumes of poetry, Taking a Walk in My Animal Hat, Frankenstein's Flowers, and Flowering Bruno, a dography, as well as 2 poetry chapbooks, Mischief and Charlene Fix, Greatest Hits. She also published a book of homage criticism, Harpo Marx as Trickster. Her poems have appeared in literary magazines like Poetry, Literary Imagination, the Manhattan Review, the Cincinnati Review, Hotel America, and Rattle. She received poetry fellowships from the Ohio Arts Council and the Greater Columbus Arts Council, and a few awards from the Poetry Society of America, the Robert H. Winter Memorial Award, and the Lewis Hammer Memorial Award. She is an emeritus professor of English at Columbus College of Art and Design, co-coordinates Hospital Poets, a reading series at the Ohio State University's Hospitals and Nationwide Children's Hospital, and is the mother of 3 and a grandmother of 1, and is an activist for peace and justice. Her latest collection, Jew Girl, a finalist for the Sexton Prize, is forthcoming from I Wear Publishing in the UK in fall of 2021. And she just made a website, charlenefix.com. Welcome, Charlene. We appreciate you lending your expertise to our event, and we look forward to witnessing the results of the difficult decisions you all will be required to make here today. We'd also like to introduce a few other folks who are helping this evening. Kate Morales will be serving as our prompter. Carla Osterly is our accuracy checker. And Lynn Hoffman is our scoring manager. Thanks to the three of you for helping us with the process this evening. And so, without further ado, let's begin round one of the Poetry Out Loud Columbus semifinal. Our first contestant is Montserrat Tuluel Flores from St. Francis de Sales. Montserrat is in the 12th grade. The lead teacher is Pam Van Arsdale with help by Janet Pickens.
The True Blue American by Delmore Schwartz. Jeremiah Dixon was a true blue American, for he was a little boy who understood America. For he felt that he must think about everything, because that's all there is to think about. Knowing immediately the intimacy of truth and comedy, knowing intuitively how a sense of humor was a necessity for one and for all who live in America. Thus, natively and naturally, when on an April Sunday in an ice cream parlor, Jeremiah was requested to choose between a chocolate sundae and a banana split. He answered unhesitatingly, having no need to think of it, being a true blue American, determined to continue as he began, rejecting the either or of Kierkegaard and many another European, refusing to accept alternatives, refusing to believe the choice of between, rejecting selection, denying dilemma, electing absolute affirmation, knowing in his breast the infinite and the gold of the endless frontier, the deathless West. Both, have them both, declared this true blue American in Cambridge, Massachusetts on an April Sunday, instructed by the great department stores, by the 5 and 10, taught by Christmas, by the circus, by the vulgarity and grandeur of Niagara Falls and the Grand Canyon, tutored by the grandeur, vulgarity, and infinite appetite, gratified and shining in the darkness of the light. On Saturdays at the double bills of the moon pictures, the consummation of the advertisements, of the imagination of the light, which is as it was, the infinite belief and infinite hope of Columbus, Barnum, Edison, and Jeremiah Dixon. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Montserrat. And so I believe we have heard from all three judges that they are ready to move on to our next contestants. So let's go ahead and do that. Our next contestant for round one is Ariana Culpepper from Beechcroft High School. Ariana is in the 12th grade, and her lead teacher is Antonia Mulvihill with help from Abby Schaefer. Welcome, Ariana.
A Blessing by James Wright. Just off the highway to Rochester, Minnesota, twilight's bounds softly forth on the grass. In the eyes of those two Indian ponies, darkened with kindness, they have come gladly out of the willows to welcome my friend and me as we step over the barbed wire into the pasture where they have been grazing all day. Alone, they ripple tensely. They can hardly contain their happiness that we have come. They bow their heads shyly as wet swans. They love each other. At home, once more, they begin munching on the young tufts of spring in the darkness. For I would like to hold this little one in my arms. She has walked over to me and nestled me in my left arm. Has walked over to me and nestled my left hand. She is black and white, Her mane falls wild on her forehead. As the light breeze moves me to caress her long ear that is as delicate as the skin on a girl's wrist, suddenly I realize that if I stepped out of my body, I would break into blossom. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ariana. Our third and final contestant this evening is Annabelle Long from Bexley High School. Annabelle is in the 9th grade. Her lead teacher is Mike Nolan. Other teachers helping are Michelle Rogers and Julie Harger. Welcome, Annabelle.
Diameter by Michelle Y. Burke. You love your friend, so you fly across the country to see her. Your friend is grieving. When you look at her, you see that something's missing. You look again. She seems all there. Reading glasses, sarcasm, leather pumps. What did you expect? Ruins? Demeter without arms in the British Museum? Your friend says she believes there's more pain than beauty in the world. When Persephone was taken, Demeter damned the world for half the year. The other half remained warm and bountiful. The Greeks loved symmetry. On the plane, the man next to you read a geometry book, the lesson on finding the circumference of a circle. On circumference, you can calculate the way around if you know the way across. You try across with your friend. You try around. I don't believe in an afterlife, she says. But after Kay died, I thought I might go after her. In case I'm wrong. In case she's somewhere. Waiting.
Okay, thank you, Annabelle. So before we move on, we would like to welcome back Faria to read once again one of her poems. Faria?
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to read another poem. This is something I wrote a couple years ago and I haven't really touched, so it's nice to be able to share this with you all. This is also about, it's a different version of an identity poem. So it's called We Are All Black in the Dark. In other worlds, there are no lights. And when the candle lights in the night, it is a little piece of heaven captured in the open wide sky, so beautiful that it draws even the most dull bugs towards its beauty, touching spirits and lifting them up to the clouds with its smoke. In the dark, we sing songs, we pray, we forget that our neighbors are albino and others are ebony. We are all safe here, green eyes and peach-toned ones, 3-day-old babies, and elder women with thin braids framing their neck. The scars are all invisible, even the ones on our backs left from generations ago, from beatings and blood. Some still feel these scars, and to cope, they eat the air from the sky. It fills their bellies, dragging over their pelvis, different than the way in which a woman carries a child inside her universe. But in this little universe, it is also always dark. And the first light that the newborn sees is the sun or the moon. And when it rises beyond mountains, above rivers of the human spirit. But in the dark, we are all black. The only color is the candle. The only white is the moon. That is the white of the heavens. different than the white of human animals. In the dark, we are all black. The only purity in our bodies are found in our teeth that shine like the stars. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very moving. We're so glad that you're here with us. Let's move on now to round 2. Our first contestant for round 2 is Montserrat Talawell Flores. Montserrat, again, she is from St. Francis de Sales and is in the 12th grade. Welcome back, Montserrat.
The Only Mexican by David Tomás Martínez. The only Mexican that ever was Mexican fought in the revolution and drank nightly. And like all machos, crawled into work crudo, letting his breath twirl, then clap and sing before sandpaper juiced the metal. The only Mexican to never sit in a Catholic pew was born on Halloween and ate his lunch wrapped in foil against the fence with the other Mexicans. They fixed old fords where my grandfather worked for years. Him and the welder Juan wagered each year on who would return first to the Yucatan. Neither did. When my aunts leave, my dad paces the living room and then rests, like a jaguar who once drank rain off the leaves of cicopria trees. And now caged, bends his paw on his speaker to watch crowds pass. He asked me to watch Grandpa, which means for the day. In town for 2 weeks, I have tried my best to avoid this. Many times he will swear, and many times Grandpa will ask to get in and out of bed, want a sweater. He will ask the time, he will use the toilet, frequently ask for beer, about dinner, when the padres play, ¿por qué no novelas? About bed. He will ask about his house, Grandma, to sit outside. He will question while answering. He'll smirk. He will invent languages while tucked in bed. He will bump the table, tap the couch. He will lose his slipper, wedging it in the wheel of his chair like a small child trapped in a well. Everyone will care. He will cry without tears. A broken carburetor of sobs. When I speak Spanish, he shakes his head and reminds me he is the only Mexican. Thank you.
Our second contestant is Ariana Culpepper from Beechcroft High School. Ariana is in grade 12. Welcome back, Ariana.
The Coming Woman by Mary Weston Fordham. Just look, it's 6:15, love, and not even the fires are caught. Well, you know I must be at the office, but as usual, the breakfast will be late. Now hurry and wake up the children and dress them as fast as you can. Poor dearies, I know they'll be tardy. Dear me, what a slow, pokey man. Have the tenderloin broiled nice and juicy. Have the toast browned and buttered all right. And be sure to settle the coffee and be sure that the silver is bright. When ready, just run up and call me. At 8 to the office I go. Lest poverty, grim, should overtake us to this bread and butter, you know.
The bottom from
stocks may fall out, and my bonds may get below par. Then surely I seldom could spare you a nickel to buy a cigar. Already? Now while I'm eating, just bring up my will to the door. Then wash up the dishes in mine now. Have dinner promptly at 4. For tonight is our women's convention, and I am to speak first. You know. The men veto us in private, but in public they shout, that's so. So bye-bye in case of a rap, love. Before opening the door, you must look. Oh, how could a civilized woman exist without a man cook?
Very good. We have heard from all 3 judges, and we're ready for our 3rd contestant and round 2. Let's welcome back Annabelle Long from Bexley High School, who is in the 9th grade. Welcome, Annabelle.
1969 by Alex Dimitrov. The summer everyone left for the moon, even those yet to be born. And the dead who can't vacation here but met us all there by the veil between worlds. The number 1 song in America was In the Year 2525, because who has ever lived in the present when there's so much of the future to continue without us? How the best lover won't need to forgive you and surely take everything off your hands without having to ask, without knowing your name, no matter the number of times you married or didn't, your favorite midnight movie, the cigarettes you couldn't give up, wanting to kiss other people you shouldn't, and now to forever be kissed by the earth, in the earth, with the earth. When we all briefly left it to look back on each other from above, shocked by how bright even our pain is, running wildly beside us like an underground river. And whatever language is good for, a sign, a message left up there that reads, here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon. July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind, then returned to continue the war.
Okay, that concludes round 2. Thank you to all of the contestants and our judges and those who are making this possible this evening. I do not envy the judges. All 3 young ladies did a fantastic job in all of their poems. Well, while we give our judges time to finish scoring and our scoring manager time to determine the contest results, we are first going to get to hear one more poem from Faria, who will give us another taste of her work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. All right, so this final piece that I will be reading kind of goes further into exploring race and color as a construct, so it blends both. I think it's appropriate, granted, we're in Central Ohio and a lot of the conversations that have been happening. So yeah, so this one is called Angels in the Blue. And before I start to read, I just want to say thank you again to not only the contestants, the MCs and the judges, but also Wild Goose Creative and Ohio Arts Council for having me. I'm excited to be here, and it's been really nice to hear young folks read poetry. I hope that you continue to do the work you do and also to write your own poems in the future as well. All right, thanks. Okay, so here's my poem. So many grown folks die, their inner child red in the face, fully formed teardrops forming an iridescent blue stream. They cry out for their mother, mom, mommy, ma, mama. I have been witness to such cries. I was there when women in makeshift emergency rooms screamed their mother's name as if to bring her back from her grave. as if her blue veins, void of oxygen, could turn back to red in a prayer as quick as a heartbeat. I have heard my husband's favorite human ask for her mom while lying on her deathbed, as if she still lived next door, the sides of blue bandages holding her together until her last moments. I have seen tall men who have fallen, their bodies and spirits strapped to the ground, calling on their mama to save them from the blue uniform, from the red bleeding hearts, the blue bruises, the red and blue flag raised but never with them in mind. The only blue that the fallen ever wanted was the sky, which veils the heavens, hoping their mothers would fall down from it. I do not know how the blues vibrate in Black people's bones. I know not how their mothers cry in front of blue oceans, their tears so many and so long, they form irrigation to their village. They cry in silence and in secret. They cry outside hospital rooms. They cry under their red skin, hearts vibrating through their pockets. They cry until their cheekbones crack. But where was I and where were you in our blue scarves and bracelets when the Black woman cried? When the Black mother buried her son's blue body as she wrote her own blues, as her tears soothed herself into sleep. We did not honor her, my people, my woman, all shades of melanin, some curvy and some thin, hair as wild like flowers, eyes like walnuts grown in gardens, watered by Black women's tears. We chanted in crowds, and as we forgot the silent chants that peeped out through blue lips of these bodies almost sucked of life, but releasing a cry to their mama, how God created angels to have red blood run through their bodies, which I mean to say is that they were created to be human, to be woman, to be mother, to be Black, all in one is still a mystery to the gardeners of today. The same gardeners who stole from all of us and gave to some of us, those who we did not claim, but we resemble between sidelines and signs, between porches and street corner memorials, between tweets and live video feeds, as we make up more excuses than recipes, denying truth, though it is above us in the blue sky. So brown woman, beneficiary of the gardens, watered by blue tears of Black women, know that when the clouds sing to you, it is the voices of Black women and their blues, the same women who have forgiven you but remind you of your purpose. Know that your existence is in the garden, on the street, and in the houses. It is from the seeds planted by Black women, and without her, there is only dirt in the garden. So grow, brown women, grow, and plant, brown women, plant, and rise, brown women, rise, until we reach the highest point in the blue sky, where fallen Black women await us in the newest of gardens that are all shades of red and blue and freedom. Thank you.
Wow, thank you for sharing your gift with us. That was incredible. All three just have these very important messages that we all need to take in, and we appreciate your perspective and the gift of your voice this evening. We're so glad that you were able to be here, Faria. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jody. I appreciate your kind words and your invitation.
Okay, so while we wait just a little bit longer for our winner to be announced, we have these certificates. And normally, if we were in person, we would have each one come to the stage and we would hand them a certificate. But in this case, we are going to simply recognize them virtually, and Wild Goose Creative will make sure that those certificates get out to our three contestants here very soon. So let's go ahead and we will, I do want to make one note that I want to make sure is clear, and that is that the winner this evening will go on to the state finals, which is in March. And then the winner of that contest will go on and participate in the national contest. That will be held virtually this year. So in the past, we have been able to send our Ohio winner to Washington, D.C. with a chaperone. And however, this time it's going to be done virtually as well, just like we're doing today. So just wanted to make sure that that was brought to your attention. Thank you. Now let's go ahead and say great job and congratulations for the work that you've done to get here this far to our three panelists or our three students. Our first contestant was Montserrat Toluwell Flores from St. Francis de Sales. Our second student, Ariana Culpepper from Beechcroft High School. And our third contestant was Annabelle Long from Bexley High School. Again, congratulations, ladies.
So I just wanted to show what the student contestants are going to receive for participating. We have this book, this beautiful poetry book called We Inherit What the Fires Left. And it's written by William Evans. And he's an award-winning poet and co-founder of Black Nerd Problems. He's based in Columbus, actually. And so this poetry book offers an emotionally vulnerable collection exploring the themes of inheritance, dreams, and injuries that are passed down from one generation to the next, and delves into the lived experience of a Black man in American suburbs today. So all of the contestants will be getting this. The winner will get an extra little special something. And then all of our amazing teachers will get the Whale Day by Billy Collins and a collection of his poems. So I just wanted to, normally we would give these in person, but you'll all be receiving them in the mail.
Well, that is delightful. Love the idea to continue to learn and hear about current authors, current poets as well. That's really great. We are ready to announce our winner. The person who will be going on to the state finals is Montserrat Toluwell Flores from St. Francis de Sales. Congratulations. Please join me in applauding our new state finalist and wishing her the best as she moves on and represents Central Ohio in the state finals next month.
Let's unmute for that.
Yes, let's. Thank you again to all three of our very talented contestants. And on behalf of Lydia and the Wild Goose Creative team, our judges, Charlene, Suzanne, and Steve, and the team that helped us throughout the evening, Carla and Lynn and Kate and Mike Artecki and Chiquita with the Ohio Arts Council and everyone else who was able to help get us ready for today, the families, the teachers, the community. We thank you for spending this evening with us to listen to poetry the way it was meant to be heard out loud. We'll see you at the state finals on March 5th. Take care.